Hello everyone. Can everyone hear me? I'll leave the chat open just so I can see that people can hear me. I'm 10, 15, 20 seconds in front of you guys. You can, okay. Okay, cool. Right, starting as usual, we'll go through some on-chain stuff. That will build our opinion as to what we think over the next 3 to 6 months. And then we'll dive into some of the charts. And also I got some requests for charts this morning, so I'll go through those also. Okay, cool. I think everyone can hear me. Okay. I still have this cough. I'm not sure why, but yeah. Anyway, we'll do the stream. Okay, so let's just have a look at the exchange net position change. As usual, what we're seeing in this bull market, I'm going to zoom in slightly here. As usual, what we're seeing in this bull market is pretty good. We're still seeing these red blocks here, which is really good to see, because with the price coming down like it was at 68, 69k, whatever it was at the top here. To see that we've still had large levels of accumulation here, that shows that people are buying on the dip and are willing to pull their Bitcoin out of the exchanges, send to their cold storage wallets, and just continue to hold their Bitcoin as they anticipate higher prices literally later down the line, whether that be 3 months time, 6 months time, whichever. So this is a good sign to see. Let's have a look at the same thing on Ethereum. Okay, again here, very similar story. We have had a slight decrease in the amount that's being accumulated, but Ethereum operates slightly different to Bitcoin in terms of the accumulation. Bitcoin will be more heavily accumulated into price dips, where Ethereum will be more heavily accumulated into price increases. It's a little bit odd if you ask me, but that is just the way around it goes. So as you can see, as price goes up, people were starting, it's like the confidence is really high, and people were just saying, I want more and more and more of this. But as the price dip, we did actually get this time a big accumulation here. But as soon as we had the little bounce, we've had a lot less being accumulated, but we're still having it being accumulated, which is the main thing we care about here. Let's move now on to large wallet inflows. So now we're gonna the most historical. Sorry, looking back historically, the most profitable cohort are the longer term guys, the longer term investors, and usually the guys that lead the buying or lead the selling are the whales. So that's anyone that owns anywhere between, to be honest, anything over 1,000 Bitcoin is considered a whale these days. So what we do is we look at the long term guys to see what they're doing, and then primarily we look at the whales and ask, well, what are these guys doing? If they are starting to sell some of their bags, perhaps we should think about doing the same, as they are historically the most profitable. So if they're selling, we want to be sort of aligning ourselves with them. As you can see here, back in the peak of 2017, no blue bubbles. Oh, sorry, blue bubbles here indicate whales buying that have still held. So the reason we don't have loads of blue bubbles here also is because those people that did buy, maybe down here, would have sold somewhere here, so we can't really see them. But as we can see here, we're now trying to track where are the blue bubbles still. So down here, you obviously got huge size. I think one of them is like a 200k, 120k Bitcoin purchase, 170k Bitcoin and a 250k Bitcoin purchase at $4,000. So some investors out there have bought nearly, I think just over 500,000 Bitcoin there. So I think that's about 2.5% of the supply that they're still holding on to. So in terms of general size, that's that's really some trade. That's a really good trade. But we're looking here at the bigger blue bubbles. Obviously at the top you don't see many, so that's to be expected. But in here we saw a big bit of accumulation. But what I'm noticing here is the accumulation here is actually pretty massive. And this is by the 1k to 10k Bitcoin purchases. So that's not $1,000 to $10,000 purchased. That's 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin purchased at that time. The larger the bubble, the more Bitcoin purchased. I think here was 160k Bitcoin purchase. I'm trying to look at the bottom right hand corner. It says number of Okay, we had 134k, 62k, 24k, 8k, 7k, 22. Yeah, I got it wrong, but it was 130k, whatever that was, 134k. So this amount of bubbles here is really good to see. It shows that even the big guys, the whales, are still accumulating, which is really positive for us, because that means that if they're still accumulating, they don't plan on selling at any point soon. So that's something that's it's just really positive for us. It shows that if we had the money on the side, we still want to be buying up more Bitcoin. And if we look at whale outflows, I can scroll back on the days to see how much Bitcoin was leaving, was being sold by the whales. But notice the scale is very different. So on the large wallet inflows, the bubbles were like, the big bubbles were well over 100k. The smaller bubbles were 30k, 20k, so that's 20,000 Bitcoin being purchased. And the small bubbles are about 5k Bitcoin being purchased. If we look here, 70 Bitcoin, 240 Bitcoin, 700 Bitcoin, 460 Bitcoin. That's 14,000. That was pretty big. 17,000. But these are huge bubbles here, huge bubbles. But you're still seeing that even in the normal ones, 1,000 Bitcoin. In there, I can't remember what it was. There was a 14,000 one there. Here we had 50, 55, 400. I think there was a 180, a 190, 72. So the scale is much different. So even though the bubbles look big here, they actually represent a much smaller scale. So, and this is a very typical day, to be honest. We have, a bit more than perhaps, but smaller bubbles, they're a bit more, but they're selling towards the top, 9,000, but still 9,000, 4,000. It's still small. On the large wallet inflows, we were seeing 130,000, 60,000, 30,000, 20,000. So, which is why over the exchange net position change, which is here, we're still seeing huge red downturns. So more Bitcoin leaving the exchanges than flowing onto the exchanges. So more Bitcoin is being bought, pulled out the exchange, held in cold storage wallet, and waiting for the prices to go higher. So after looking at that, we'll go straight to the charts. Sorry, one more I want to show you guys. Back to Bitcoin. And this is quite important because this will give us an idea of the structure of the selling in terms of which cohorts it's coming from. And this is more of an overview, a summary of it. And then if we notice some things that are slightly more concerning, we can dig deeper into it. But for now, the summary is okay, but I'll show you what I mean. So we're looking here at coin days destroyed. So when we see the spikes, the orange spikes, the bigger the spike, the older the coins are. The coins that are being sold, the older they are. So we want to see low spikes. We don't want to see these big spikes here, which we saw back in July when people were sort of selling into this price rally here. I mean, you had a lot of old coins being sold there. If we zoom out a little bit, I mean, it's very, very minimal, very minimal. This shows that all the coins that are being sold are short-term coins. They're coins that are being traded amongst day traders or people just flipping in and out. And I saw a stat, I think it was yesterday, where the long-term holders own something like 86% of the supply now. So the 86% of the supply is in the hands of Bitcoin holders that haven't moved their coins in 155 days. So that's that's more than 6 months, or about 6 months. But that shows you the conviction amongst the long-term holders, the whales, the big guys, to just continue holding on to their Bitcoin. And even in here, you might have thought on the price dip that we might have got some almost panic selling, especially when we did the dip into 55k. You would really have thought we might have got some panic selling there, but no, we haven't. So again, this shows you until we start seeing some major spikes here, that is a good sign. We're all good. So for now, this is the overview of everything. Once we start seeing some spikes here, we can move over and start pinpointing the actual cohorts of groups. So coins that are 3 months to 6 months old, coins that are 6 months to 12 months old, and we'll go through that in future streams. But for now, we can see it's all good. We've got large levels of accumulation and not loads of not loads of sales being done. So the long-term guys are the ones that, are holding onto their bags, and they're actually, as you can see with the exchange net position change, they're actually trying to accumulate more, especially with the large wallet inflows. You can see that the big guys are really trying to scrape up more, and you can see that the bubbles were big. Let me just go back to it on the dips. So on the price dips for Bitcoin, the bubbles are large, where towards the top the bubbles are small. No one cares about it. Here people were very scared. It was very sort of hit and miss what's going on. But you see here on the price dip, huge accumulation here. I think we had 130,000, 60,000, 23, 8,000. I think it was a 32 in there, 22, 19. So you've got huge accumulation at this sort of mid 50k level. So that mid 50k level is almost acting as the now base support, because whales are buying up such large quantities there. And I noticed, I did a post on this 2 days ago in the Discord, because a lot of people at 68k, everyone's very excited, but everyone's then saying, oh, it's going 70k, no problems, blah blah blah. But you have to remember, with this stuff, the market usually goes against what the majority think. So if the majority are sitting here, which is what has happened, the majority have been saying, oh, it's going to 53, 54, 53, some even calling for 51,000. So people are sort of now got their dollars or their tether, they're sat on the side, they're waiting for it to go down. But that's not how the market works. The market usually, the phrase is the train leaves with the least amount of people on it. So, and I said this in the Discord, in the market updates, I think it was yesterday morning, saying that there was a big buy box at 56,000 and one at about 52,000. The 52,000 might sort of, it might sort of bring about a lack of conviction amongst the big guys. They might start getting a little bit shaky at low 50k. So the market makers don't want it to go there. And in those two buy boxes that we had, which is what the market makers and the miners, so the exchanges and the miners, play that strategy, you will see that they're either loading up at 55, 56k, or they're loading up at 51, 52k. But going to 51, 52, they don't really want to go there because it might scare some of the big whales off. And you need them to carry on holding their Bitcoin so that there's a really low amount left on the exchange. So when retail does come in, retail will be fighting over maybe only 7% of the supply. Where if the whales start selling now and there's 20% of the supply, you need much more money to come in for the price to shoot up. So the market makers don't want to put the miners off. And because everyone's calling for 51, 52, 53, 54k, it seems reasonably a reasonably good chance to me. The probabilities were higher that we were going to shoot from 56, and that's starting. I think we're starting to see that. But let's dip into the chart, and I'll explain it a bit more. I'll explain this a bit more properly. So this is the 12-hour time frame. Because I'm streaming, it's a little bit slow. Right, so we have this big buy box in here, which was very possible it could have gone there. But we also had this one here. So if we look at what most of the time what we'll do is it will wick down hard and create a bear flag and then wick down hard again, which is what we saw here. So we had a bear flag starting like this. You then had it retest, bounce back in, come in, close outside. Now it's closed outside, bosh, down you go. So we saw here, let's get rid of this. I was thinking we might create another one after this wick here, which is why I had this movement up here. But when we saw that it kept going up and then it's crashed down, you can no longer create the flag. And this is a very common structure for Bitcoin in terms of it will go down, create the flag, and it will go down to the proper box where it wants to fill. And then it won't create a flag. It will go down, fill the box slightly, and it will come up a little bit, then go down harder, which is exactly what we've seen here. It will create the bullish divergence. Let me zoom in. So as you can see here, we've got bullish divergence. Price here is higher than the price here, but the oscillator is less oversold here than it was there. That's a bullish divergence, and that's what's needed to maybe send it slightly higher. So then you had these trend lines being put in here and here that were acting as possible resistances going forward. You then had the local orange box. So the yellow boxes are where you want to fill your orders and the markets go up. The orange box is where you want to fill your short orders and the market to go down. So the orange, this was a local one, so reliability wise they're not that high because they don't act as strong resistance. This one will act as reasonably strong resistance. This one will be a resistance. I can't see it just surging through there. I think that would be impossible. It might surge through this one and hit this one, but I think here you have at least a pullback. We might get a situation where Bitcoin goes from, well, because we're at the trend line now, we might go something like this, dip down and retest here, say, I'm sort of guessing at this part here. But what we might do is we might go straight up like this. You might then create a flag which gives you the bullish momentum to go up there, and this part here might operate as the support in here to then send you higher. But this first orange box will, I would say, more than likely, the odds are considerably higher that it does than it doesn't, but the odds are considerably higher that it will act as a decent resistance. So on the first go, you will have, it will more than likely reject from there. It will then hopefully create a bullish candle structure, so a bullish pattern like this, either a bull flag or a downtrend channel would work to send you higher. So that's my thoughts currently for Bitcoin. What we do need to do is definitely stay above this orange box and the white horizontal. Hopefully it will turn to horizontal support now, but the resistance line has been broken. Hopefully if we do come down, it bounces off it, sort of turns it into support and sends us higher. So the key area to watch now is 58,300. And I'll go through our trades. We might go a bit more gun-ho in future on our derivatives account, but let's go through some more charts now. But those are my initial thoughts for Bitcoin. We'll go through some more charts, see what we think, and then come to an overall concluding opinion. Okay, Ethereum first. So Ethereum at the moment is a bit of a weird one because Bitcoin always leads the market. If Bitcoin does lead the market, Bitcoin will go up first, followed by Ethereum, followed by the remainder of the large caps, then the mid caps will have their run, then the small caps will have their run. What we're seeing here is actually Ethereum is beginning to start leading the run, so this might be the sort of gradual process with the so-called flippening, but even now you can see here the orange box is acting as some sort of resistance. So I'd expect it to come down, maybe even to something like this, but because it is so strong, it can just go, all the way. But for now, I would say if you do have open Ethereum positions, which aren't spot, so if you're trading Ethereum leverage, I'd say maybe take 25% out of the trade just in case. But there are risks to that as well. I've taken, percents out of trades and booked profits, being happy with them, just to see the coin continue on further. I've done it literally in the last few days with Matic, which I posted the trade in the trade setups in Discord. So if you're not in our Discord, I would say definitely get in our Discord. Matic's at 188, we got in at 156. And another one I had was Curve, which I've been in for forever. I sold it yesterday at 590 something. It's now at 627. But I still have half my bags in it because it's a long-term spot bag. But if they do these crazy moves, I might try and get out and then just rebuy at a slightly lower level, and I basically just nicked myself some extra dollars on the side, basically. But for Ethereum now, I'd say this will likely act as a resistance, but again, we'll just keep assessing and see how it goes. So earlier I said what happens is we go down, we fill a box, we create a bear flag. This is now turning into an uptrend channel, and then so a bear flag or an uptrend channel are very similar, but what it does is Bitcoin usually does this, and then it collapses even further. So Litecoin at the moment has to break above this pink line to invalidate the flag pattern. Because as you can see, it went low here, but it stayed higher here. Where Bitcoin done the opposite. It stayed higher here, and then came lower here, creating that bullish divergence to send it higher. Where Litecoin, as you can see, has actually had a pretty decent recovery here, but this is still a bearish pattern. So in terms of interest of actually trading this, I wouldn't have loads of interest in actually trading this one for now, because it could wick down, even just going something like 190. But it could just go further up, but it's just very 50-50, it's very hit and miss. because the candle structure is a bearish candle structure. So for that reason, in terms of trading it, I wouldn't be interested in this one. Let's move to Solana. So Solana's just a bit of a monster, to be honest with you. It filled the yellow buy box really nicely. We're now, so this, I wouldn't say this is a flag. This probably isn't a flag because it's not had enough of an upwards move. But this red trend line is definitely acting as resistance. I want to see that trend line there hold. A break below that would begin to concern me. And this doesn't mean that if it does break below and you have the lows of Solana and in your spot positions, that doesn't mean to go and sell them all. That just means maybe sell 25% of them. And if it does come down to here, buy 25% of them. Sorry, the 25% you cashed out, rebuy with that. And what you've done is, say you have, I don't know, say you have 50 of them and you sell 12.5 and you rebuy them back here at 180 and you've sold them at, you know, I don't know, 200. You've now got 20 times an extra 12.5. So you've gone and nicked yourself $250 just extra, and you still own the same as what you owned before. But I wouldn't say this is, don't use this strategy often. I would say probably don't even use it here. Let's move on to Matic. Matic is where you might want to use it, but again, this is breaking out of key levels. So for this could still go much further. So you probably don't even want to use that sell 25% and rebuy back in here. You know, just leave it, especially if it's a spot position, just leave it. I'm going to go to curve just to sort of exercise my point a little bit better. Right, so this one shot up. So Matic is doing the same thing, but Matic is about here. So we could see Matic do this, but I would say it's probably unlikely because Matic is much bigger in terms of market cap. So it needs a lot more flow to actually come in. But for curve, I sold curve somewhere in here. No, higher. I sold it in here at 590, hoping it'd come down to like 525, and I could rebuy, and now it's 628. So I lost half of my curve and sold them at 590. But now if I just held them, well, I have an extra, 30 cent per curve I owned. So even though I've booked a lot of profits, there are pros and cons to this strategy. But with curve now, in terms of trading it, I'll cover this one now. This needs to come back heavily or create some form of bullish candle structure in terms of a flag. That's the only time I'd consider trading this one. Unless you've got it spot. If you've got it spot, like me, I do still have a lot of it in spot. I would just say just be really thankful and pray that it keeps going upwards, basically. But to see a coin go like this is sort of all you can ask for. Okay, so Matic again could do something similar. We filled in this box in, here. So again, another example. Created a flag, bear flag, down we go. Fill the rest of the box. I'm guessing this created a bullish divergence. No, but that one there did. Sorry, my cough is still bad. No, it actually didn't really. It's pretty much the same. And this price here was considerably lower. But Bitcoin is a much better example of how that bullish divergence played out. But here we had the downtrend line. We filled the yellow box. So I post setups in the Discord just for anyone that's like a new viewer. I post setups in the Discord channel, and you can play these yellow boxes, place your orders, fill them, and go. So far, we've had good fills on Solana was a good one. Bitcoin was at 56, was a really good one. I'm trying to just get it up now. In here, with the green boxes as well, it's much stronger. But here, I think I'll show you on our 2K challenge, but our average entry was somewhere in here, I think. So we've got this nice move here. But yeah, that's something that could have been played. Let's move on to ADA. Okay, another situation on the flag. Flag comes out, breaks below, fills our box, creates another small flag, a local flag in here, pulls down again, and now creates a big flag. But this isn't really a good example of a flag, this one here. As you can see, it actually did break down, but in terms of the actual structure here, because this point here was higher than here, I actually don't really like it as a flag, but it's probably still the most reliable way to chart it. In terms of actually trading this, I would say you could consider buying it if you're if you're a fan of ADA, not flag of ADA, if you're a fan of ADA. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather stick with Ethereum, Solana, other layer ones. But this here was the long term. Let me zoom out slightly. There you go. So it's all the way from there. This is the long term. So we call this the master uptrend line. As you can see, it pretty much had a bounce on the master uptrend line. But if it comes back down to here, maybe low 160s, late 150s, I would say if you're a fan, that's where you can consider buying it, especially if you get a fill and then a break above the red downtrend line. That would be really nice to see. But you'd want to then see it reclaim the horizontal resistance there. Doge is one that, so this one here is to me is really nice because it's holding the horizontal support. As we can see here, it keeps closing above. There's buyers here. We keep seeing the strength, but we keep seeing this acting as resistance 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4, 5, nearly 6, 7 again. So I would consider adding positions here as we get to squeeze into the pinpoint, and you can see the divergences are getting bigger and bigger. Getting higher and higher. We might get a burst up out here. So this one is definitely on my watch list. This is one I'll consider adding over the next day or so. I may even add one in the 2K challenge now, or later at least. But let's look at Chainlink. So again, this is another ugly flag formation that it isn't even really a good flag. This is the main level I would have played in. But for now, I just don't like the candle structure, so I'm going to leave it. It has actually broken above the red downtrend line, which we can see acts as resistance once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6. It broke through there, but it's now retesting. So this might be worth an entry here. With a tight stop loss, this might be worth an entry. Let's look at BNB. So BNB did create this deeper flag, but it filled the yellow boxes. And just for any new viewers, these are charts that I post reasonably regularly in the group. I will start in the Discord. I will start posting much more regularly, so you have all the setups on maybe a daily basis. But this is where you can have filled in the yellow green box. If you wanted to play leverage, you can do. I'd only play it if you really know what you're doing. But you can fill in here, and you have this nice move here. But you'd be looking easily at, what's that, 100%, just over 100% gain on the 10x leverage. Let's look at Sushi. I like Sushi. It's held horizontal support. It's now moved again. You might get a strong red downtrend line here, so you want to see it come up, test it, come down, hold support again. It's only done it once. So you want to see it build up some support, show that there's buyers there. That shows you that you've got the strength. Once you've got the strength there, that might push the market on further. But until I start seeing some more retests and a squeeze into the pinpoint that will be somewhere in here, that's where the only time I'd really consider adding. But we do have, this is one of our long-term bags. Or a lot of the DeFi plays I'm big fans of. And I think this one will, you've got a lot of room here to go up to the all-time high. It's a double up, basically. So if you do own this spot, I wouldn't even consider selling it, that's for sure. AVAX, just an absolute monster. Again, this was the box I would play if it actually, decides it wants to go there. But yeah, until this comes down further and holds this trend line, I wanted to see it hold this trend line, wick in, and wick back out again. But you're asking for a lot here because it's a long way from the trend line. If you own this one from somewhere in here, we did fill in this yellow box here. But if you do own this one for a long time, then I would say, again, just be really thankful you've got it, basically, because it's just a top project. Let's look at Polkadot. I'm going to try and speed this up to make this a little bit quicker. Polkadot's done something similar. So this is really primed to go, but it still is in a little bit of a flaggy formation. So again, I wouldn't have like real top draw conviction that this couldn't do another wick down, but there's no real meaningfully like worthwhile levels to actually test down here, and I just don't think it can come to 30. You're asking for, I don't know, a 25% decline. I just think it's too much. I just don't think we'll see it unless Bitcoin has a really ugly reject. I don't think we'll see it. But if you do want to add here, it's still within the green and yellow box. You actually can, but again, I would say do a really tight stop loss. It could come down to 37 and fill here. But again, play where the risk and reward is on your side. So here I would say at this moment in time, it probably isn't brilliant. So I would say just stay clear of this one for now. The best one to me looks like Doge. If you're in on Matic, you've got that move, which is really nice. Dot, we do have an open position in Dot, but again, we fill somewhere in here. So I would say just leave it. I think we've got actually a higher entry. Our entry is about 40. So I think we're about break even on the trade. But again, I would just say just keep a tight stop loss and don't do anything ridiculous on it. Curve we've been through. Just a monster. Arve, this is similar to Sushi. It's bounced off the horizontal support, which is good to see. It's created a bullish divergence on the oscillator. This might be enough to send it higher. So again, this one is on my radar. But because they've not filled boxes, they've not filled the yellow boxes that I draw, I don't have huge conviction in them. But because they've just gone down so much, it's gone from 346 down to 260. I mean, you've had a 10, 20, 30, a 30% correction. It's reasonable that you are going to get some form of bounce just for a retest. So this might be worth adding. So this one I like. Sushi I like. And Doge. I know Doge has always been a bit of a piss-taking coin, but that's another one I actually like as well. Let's look at DAG. So DAG, we have an average entry, I think, of somewhere in the 20s, but this is something I bought personally, and I'm happy just to hold this for, wherever the top of the bull market I think is, I'll sell this at the top of the bull market. If we go down to 16, I'll buy more. If we break below 16, I'll be slightly concerned, but because the project is so good, you know what's going below 16 would actually concern me. I would try and add at 16 if it held support and it built up some support, maybe a few bullish divergences and then went. But I think we've already got bullish divergences here. One I was going to add was Polk because it was doing a nice squeeze, but it's up 10%. This could be nice. It's held this support in here, which has been nice, but I haven't charted this one properly. Compound. Again, Compound here. I want to see it get above this red downtrend line and hold this white horizontal resistance and flip it from resistance into support. Once it holds, if it does some sort of consolidation here, then I'll definitely consider adding. Because we've seen here, buying, comes down here, buying. We had a bounce here. Yes, it's the first time it broke. So if we can get a convincing move above and a consolidation above the horizontal support, flip it from resistance into support, that would be enough for me to add, at least hoping it would go to 380. So you might be able to go and get 20-30% out of it. Let's look at the last few. So I was asked to chart Cake, Sand, and Mana. Cake looks pretty similar actually to Compound, apart from we haven't had bundles or retests of this line. But this here actually does look okay to add, but there's nothing that stops it from going down to here. So you might, if it does break above, you might want to say, I want to have my reward at 17. So if we look at it, you're looking at maybe even doing it here. Your long would be to at least there, so you're looking at an 18% move, and your stop loss might be something like that, so 6%. So you're looking at gaining 3 times what you could possibly lose. But again, I wouldn't say the odds, like when we play the boxes, you always get a fill and a bounce. If it does come down, it never holds as strong. As you can see, the more times it fills, the less likely you are to actually get a bounce. But that strategy has very good odds, or well, not very good odds, it's nearly 70% of the time it works on Bitcoin, depending on which box level I draw, but that's a pretty good strategy. This one here is pretty 50-50, but if you do lose, if you play sort of 20 of them, and the market is overly bullish, you should win more than lose, and if you do lose, you should lose 6%, if you do win, you should gain 18%. And if you paid with leverage, obviously 10x it or whichever. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. Okay, so in terms of actually trading this one, like this is mental. Like I've not really kept up with the metaverse stuff, but seeing it go from what's it, 80 cent up to, it's done a 10x in the space of since October the 24th. So you're looking at it's done a 10x in about a month. Like, yeah, this is just ridiculous. But in terms of actually buying this as a trade, I'm not working with a great deal of information here. I've just seen it go like this, like this, like this. So I don't have loads of supports to build in. I've seen it test a few levels, but nothing major. This might be a level. This might be a level. I consider a punt of a trade adding in here. But even then, you're going to see it come straight down here. Fill your box. Are you going to be confident of filling there? So this is what I mean in terms of your risk reward. If you have missed these ones, I would say overall, don't go chasing. If you do go chasing, the likelihood is it's done this. So what's the odds of it going to 10? Like, who knows? But from what you can see here, it's got a bearish divergence on the bigger time frame. This oscillator was at 90 there, and here it's at 83, and it's done a well over a double up since then. So this is the risk here is much higher than the reward, I would say. So I definitely wouldn't enter it now. That would be an absolute no-no. There's nothing stopping it going to 9 or 10. But just in terms of your risk-reward, your reward is really low. And your risk is, it might go to, I don't know what it'll do. But it might go to 10 or 12. So you might go and get 50%. But it might come all the way down to 4. And even here, I wouldn't be hugely confident it will hold. Because there's been no like prior areas to show that there was buying in this area. All we can see is that there was selling in this area, and then it pumped from there, done the flag, and then it went. But in terms of actually being buying it, you're not working off enough data. So I definitely say to steer clear. That would be my honest opinion, but you can take it as you like. Similar for mana, but we do have some actual supports here. So here, if we got a fast wick in, I would much rather, if you told me, if you put a gun to my head and said, which one do you want to play? I'd pick mana over sand in terms of trading all day long, simply because I prefer the chart. If you put a gun to my head, I would go away and, learn everything I know about the metaverse and do it actually like properly. But in terms of actually pure trading it, I would have to pick this one and consider filling here. But even then, it would be out of trend. It's just a frightening thought of filling there. But what we have seen is did see big selling there, candle closes there, again there, resistance, and then it acts as support here. So I'd be much more confident of playing this one than I would of playing sand. Right, let's move on to the big caps index, and then we'll move on to Bitcoin one last time, do our final thoughts, and then I'll go and have dinner, and we can all say our goodbyes. So there was 2 possible flags here. Okay, sorry. For all the new viewers, I'll explain what this is. This is the big caps index. So this is Ethereum, Cardano, Binance Coin, XRP, Solana, Polkadot, Chainlink, and Litecoin measured against their Bitcoin pairs and then built together in a weighted index against Bitcoin. So this will show us, well, how are the large caps, a lot of these are layer ones, how are the large caps, actually not a lot of them are, but how are the large caps playing against Bitcoin? And this is our indicator for the season. Is there going to be a season? If this is breaking down, then we're sort of, dominance is flowing into Bitcoin rather than dominance flowing out of Bitcoin into alts, which here is what we're seeing. We're seeing the dominance flow from Bitcoin into the large caps. And this is an indicator for us that we're potentially going to have an altcoin season. I actually think probably today/yesterday is the day it's probably started, and that's obviously a big call. But I'm much more confident on Bitcoin now. Let's have a look at Bitcoin again. Let's go 12-hour time frame. So yeah, as you can see through my analysis of the other charts, hopefully this one makes a bit more sense now. So by having this lower wick in here, we created that bullish divergence, which to me is enough that we could go. And I did a post in the Discord yesterday morning about this. So if you aren't in the Discord, I would say definitely go and have a look, because I did not call this, but I predicted we're good to go from here, sort of thing. I said the odds were much higher. We were about 65%. We're here of Bitcoin going here was about 35%. So the odds were much better here. But now what we need to see is we've got past this little local orange box and the white horizontal support / resistance. So if it does come down and retest, we want to see this hold. That's definite. If it did come below here, again, I would be concerned, because there's another lower high. Yeah, I would be concerned, and if that would invalidate my whole opinion. But you have in this sort of trading, you have to be smart enough to say, well, if certain information goes against you, you need to be wary that you can just change your opinion, but it shouldn't be changing at the drop of a hat. It should be if certain indicators aren't respected or followed, then that should creep in a lot of weakness or negativity, and that should influence your opinion. So for me, I want to see it get above this red downtrend line and claim above the main one. The main one, there's one main one here on a 4 hour, and this one here is on the 12 hour. So for me, we need to see it break these red downtrends. Let me get rid of this one. Yeah, we need to see it break these red downtrends. This one, the fact it's struggling on this first one is a tad concerning, but we still have just over 4 hours before the 12-hour candle closes. If it came down somewhere like here and closed here in the box, that would be concerning, definitely. But we want to see it close up really positive towards it, and a lot of the Asian markets open at sort of midnight, 1 a.m. UK time, and they often are they do short a little bit more than us. So I would say that if we can see this close strong, and then obviously we're going to bed at midnight, 1 a.m., if we start seeing these sort of Asian markets open up strong and not shorting this, I would say that's positive. Because I saw last night I think we got a stronger move up last night. I think it was this one. It was this candle here. We got a move into the orange box at sort of like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I think. So that would be really positive to see if we can do the same thing again this evening. But again, this is really short term. Long term, I'm still ridiculously bullish on crypto over the next 10 years or so. But in terms of the next 6 months, I think we're going to be at 100k. I think that's a definite. I think it can go a lot higher. But yeah, other than that, let me just see if there's any major questions. I've gone through Mana and Sand. MDX, sorry, I don't know. Matic was a great call. Oh, thank you. QNT, no, I can look at that in the next stream. CRO, I can look at in the next stream. Gala, again, I can do. And Hero, I can also do. Yeah, that's probably it from me, unless there's any other sort of major questions. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll let you guys know when the next stream will be. I'm thinking about doing one on Sunday. If not Sunday, there will definitely be one on Monday or Tuesday, definitely. Okay, cheers guys.